House hacking pros and cons. That is what we're going to dive into today. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. House hacking is what got me into real estate investing at the beginning. I'll share a little bit about my journey there, and then I'll share the pros and cons that I have now as a seasoned investor about house hacking and give you some advice about where, if house hacking should fit into your real estate investing scheme, and if so, how. So let's dive on in. And as we do that, remember, if you are a real estate investor and you maybe are struggling, don't have the time or the financial freedom that you were thinking you would get, go on over to my website and get my Freedom Blueprint. This goes through the 10 systems or pieces that you need in your real estate investing business to run it like a business. So head on over to adriennegreen.com. That's ADRIENNEGREEN.com to get your Freedom Blueprint today and start running your investment portfolio like a business. Now let's talk about my story with house hacking so you can get some frame of reference of where I'm coming from with house hacking. So house hacking was my start with real estate investing. So I have some fond feelings about it from that. What it was, guys, is, my husband and I lived in Northern Virginia and we bought our dream house that we thought we were going to live in forever. And this house was big. I mean, for the two of us and three dogs, it was a 5-bedroom, 3.5-bath house. It was like 3,600 square feet. And so it was huge. And we just, after a few months, realized we weren't using the whole thing. We moved in August, and in October, we were on a little weekend road trip driving back, and we're like, we haven't really used this whole house. What can we do? How can we use this asset for our benefit? And the basement, we hadn't stepped foot in really much at all. And it was a walkout basement, so it had its own door. It had some windows. It had a full bathroom, a full bedroom, plus a common area. And the prior owners had plumbed it to have a wet bar down there, but they never had actually built it out. But it had the drainage, the water supplies, things like that. So we're like, that's a pretty big area that they had for the wet bar. I bet we could build out a kitchenette down there and then rent out that basement. So we're on the way back from a weekend trip, and we're going to swing by IKEA, which was normally like an hour from our house, but it's right off the drive that we had. So we're like, I know people get kitchens and all that stuff from IKEA. Let's go check it out, right? So we go to IKEA and we go to the kitchen section to say, what would we need? What would it look like to build out this kitchenette in the basement? And one of the people there at IKEA helped us. They had these computer systems where you could mock out what you had. And so we did that. We bought everything we needed right then and there. We had a big pickup truck at the time. So we're like, oh yeah, we could throw everything in the truck, just drive it home. Well, when you're buying enough for a kitchenette, it's more than one pickup truck's load. So we loaded up what we could. We were able to keep the rest at IKEA, drove home, unloaded it, and my poor husband had to turn around, drive right back to IKEA, another hour return, right? Load it up again and drive it back again. But that was our very spontaneous start into real estate investing, and I'm so glad we did it. So, if you're someone listening, a little bit of an aside, but my first bit of wisdom here is if you're someone listening and you are stuck in analysis paralysis, just do it. Real estate is such a great investment. You really don't need to overanalyze it for it to be a win. That's my first tip here. Over the next couple weeks, we built out this kitchen ourselves. We had an electrician come out and run the wiring for a oven and stove to be down there. And we got it all set out and we listed it for rent. Now back then, the main source for rental was still on Craigslist. So we listed it on Craigslist. We were able to rent it within a couple weeks to a young family for $1,000 a month. We lived in that house and rented out that basement for a total of 7 years, I think. And we went from $1,000 a month up to like 15, maybe it was 1575 by the time we moved on. We were a little under market at that first $1,000 a month, but for us, that was easy money. I was like, we're getting an extra $1,000 a month for space that we weren't even using before. That's awesome, right? And so we had a really positive attitude about it, and it worked out well. One of my other little words of wisdom here, guys, as we go through this is we could have had a different attitude. We could have had the attitude of, we're only going to get $1,000 a month and we're going to lose privacy and we're going to have someone else here on our property. And we could have shied away from taking action because, $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year isn't necessarily life-changing on its own, right? We could have said it's not big enough to make a huge difference and not taken any action. The thing is, your first step is often a baby step. Your first step is often not what's going to be this life-changing transformational step. because you don't know how to take those huge life-changing transformational steps. Just like a baby, you need to start with some little steps so that if you do fall, it's also not as big of a fall, right? And so I'm so glad that we took that first step, that we did that house hacking and rented out our basement so that we could experience the benefit of real estate investing. We could test out being landlords in a very low committal environment, right? We weren't buying another place. We weren't making another down payment. All we were doing was renting out our basement with a year commitment, right? That was it. And we could have done a shorter one if we wanted, but we did a year lease up front. And so it was a very low risk, low work way to get started with real estate investing. And it showed us that most tenants are great, that overall it's pretty simple. And that's what opened the door to now what is providing us the opportunity to be places like this by the beach and travel, have financial freedom. So I'm so glad we did it.
Here's a word from our sponsor. Are you an active real estate investor feeling overwhelmed by endless tasks? Workergenics is here to help with their full-service virtual staffing solutions. They're offering a free tool called the Delegate or Die Checklist, which outlines 100 tasks you as a real estate investor can delegate to a virtual assistant. Imagine focusing on the big picture while your VA handles the details. Gain the freedom and efficiency you deserve in your investments. Download the Delegate or Die checklist now at workergenics.com/freedom blueprint. That's workergenix.com/freedom blueprint. Take control of your time and boost your productivity today. Now, back to our show.
So that's kind of my story with house hacking, which if you're not familiar with house hacking, I think it gives you an idea of what it is, right? It's where you take your primary residence and you rent out a portion of it. It can be long-term, it can be short-term, it can be an area with its own separate entrance, it can be a bedroom within your house. The key is that you're renting out a portion of your primary residence. Now, what are the pros for house hacking? What do I love about it? First, it's a great way to get started with no extra money. Pretty much if you bought, or sometimes even if you've rented a place, you're able to make income or lower your costs without an extra outflow of money. What I think you want to view it as is it allows you to save money faster so you can go buy more investments. If you're house hacking a primary, you're increasing your net worth with that primary residence. And if you're also getting that extra income, which lessens the amount that you have to pay per month, or maybe you're even making enough from house hacking, like maybe you're renting out multiple bedrooms, that you're making a profit every month. That could happen too. Either way, typically you have X amount of dollars that you expect to spend on your housing every month. Let's say $2,000, right? And if you're having to not spend $2,000 or spend less, like maybe only $500, let's say, then you're saving another $1,500 a month toward buying more real estate investing. So that's one of the things I love, is that it can really help you move the needle faster by offsetting your personal housing expense. Now, you'll note I'm not saying go spend the money you're saving. It doesn't give you another $1,500 to go get champagne service at the local bar or whatever, right? It's giving you an extra $1,500 to save and invest in more real estate. Because if you're doing house hacking, you're getting some benefits, but let's talk about the cons and why I want you to save that money to invest in real estate. One of the cons of house hacking is that it's not scalable. If you know me, you know how I love things that can scale. I love things with leverage. I love things where you can learn something and then you can 10x it. You cannot 10x house hacking. You can't have 10 primary residences that you're renting out a portion of. It doesn't work, right? Maybe you can rent out multiple bedrooms in your house, but it's still a linear process. You can house hack this primary, sell it, move on to another primary and house hack that primary, but it's linear. You can only ever have one primary residence at a time. So that limits how transformational it can be for you. And that's why I'd say house hacking can be great. And in order to use house hacking to get more of that transformational 10x leveraged aspect, I would say take whatever money you're saving on your living expenses and use that to buy more investment properties. So that takes us to the advice portion of this lesson today. If you are just getting started in real estate, absolutely do house hacking. If you're at a point in real estate where you're maybe stuck and you need to get a little infusion of cash, do house hacking. It is a great tool to have in your toolkit, and it can be pulled out at several parts of your real estate investing journey. Big note on house hacking though is realize it cannot be the only part of your real estate investing journey, assuming that you really want to get to financial freedom, assuming that you really want to get to all those benefits that real estate investing can give you. You need to take the money that you make from house hacking and you need to apply it to other real estate investing strategies, whether that's buying long-term rentals, short-term rentals, investing in syndications. There are a ton of ways to invest in real estate, and house hacking is a great one. You just want to take your savings and use that money to do other forms of real estate investing where you're really going to get that 10x return, where you're really going to get something scalable. So take the money you earn, save it up, and do more real estate investing. That's where the magic will happen. Now, I hope you guys got value from today's call. Remember, if you are looking for ways to run your real estate investing like a business, go check out my Freedom Blueprint at adriennegreen.com and be sure to like and subscribe so you'll get next week's episode.